for the Open Space Greenways Committee. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Mitch Lewis, who will be taking our minutes, will not be here this evening. He's attending an awards dinner, so he will be unavailable, but he promised that he would take the minutes based on the video broadcast of this meeting, and I will help him out with taking a few notes myself. So the first item on the agenda is the approval of the May meeting minutes. All of you have copies of it. Are there any changes or additions to the minutes?
Corrected, that's Dr. Hartig and it's R-T-I-G.
Not entertain a motion to approve them as amended. Okay. Favor?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any changes to the minutes? Additions, deletions? Not, we'll proceed with the agenda. Reports. First item on the agenda is the township. Carl?
Evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is nothing new to report from the township board to the committee. I would indicate, however, that I did have an opportunity to walk the trails across from the school on Meridian, the Wright Woods, and we have a tree down on the trail there. And wet about a week and a half ago when I walked through there. That looked good. And the property behind Ferry, between Ferry and Gage, was also very wet, and I've spoken with Bob Walters about that, and he is interested in helping us develop a trail if we get to that. Bob is very excited about that, and that's an important and a good development, but nothing further. No, that would be a circular or a loop trail, is what we've been talking about, that would start on Gage and stay on the township property. As you know, the other has been purchased and is now private property. But we would be looking and trying to put a loop trail in there, and Bob is very excited about participating in that. At this time. I know that the chairman has been involved in some discussions. And,
that's later on the agenda, and we'll be talking about that as well.
We may have something there that'll develop. So, hoping, keep fingers crossed. Nothing further.
Thank you, Carl. Bert, anything new with the Conservancy?
The Groseal Nature and Land Conservancy participated in Island Fest. We had a float in the parade and a booth at the hangar, and it was a very successful event. And then just things that are coming up in June. So on this coming Saturday at 9 a.m. at the Meridian Trailhead, cleanup and sign replacement. So that's the Conservancy property that borders the Wright Woods over there on Meridian across from the elementary school. Saturday the 24th, there's a cleanup at the Kobiak Preserve, which is on Thoroughfare and Bryomar Lane. On Sunday the 25th, there's an educational program at the Gibraltar Bay Unit over on East River called Wetland Wildlife, and our naturalist, Natalie Cipher, will be presenting that. So those are the June events coming up.
Thank you very much, Bert. Recreation, Leah?
Yes, I'm happy to be here again this evening. We couldn't have an official meeting in May because we had our chair was off on business in Ohio, and two of our members were attending graduation ceremonies, and so we didn't have a quorum. But we went through a number of things because Kim O'Farrell is now on duty. That's our new director, and she's on duty and up for the challenge and on a big learning curve, but she's up for that. So we just, from then on, shared information that was going on, so I'll just run through that for you quickly. The football coordinator from Gyra, I never say that correctly, reviewed a proposal for a new irrigation system at the practice football field, which has been a long time controversy with the soccer tournament, which was very successful. My niece's team didn't make it to the finals, but she managed to win 1.5 games, so that was pretty cool. So we clarified that procedure because it involves not only the community rec, but the airport commission, and then all the vendors. And so you got to make sure that all this gets together. And so Kim is going to sit everybody down and have a conversation, and we hope that it'll all be resolved and good action can be taken by July at the latest by the Township Board. The Island Fest was, by all reports, a great success. We're not involved in doing that. It has its own commission with Chad Novak chairing that commission. And he showed everybody the magazine article that has Grozeal so beautifully presented. If you haven't seen that magazine yet, please take time to read that. And so the pool is open from 1 o'clock to 7:30 until June 15th, when it will be open full time. The swimming registration deadline for those under 12 who must have an adult with them is the 13th of June. The marina at last count still had 9 open wells for boats that are 20 to 32 feet. So, if you're interested, we'd like to have those filled. The playscape is having its usual challenges with the bees and mischief. And so we're trying to deal with the bees as we always do. We've installed 2 new bucket seats for the babies. And if you remember, the Kiwanis Club rejuvenated that last year and had a wonderful ceremony with some of the original people involved in creating that. So a considerable discussion about that. Centennial Farm, lots of improvements going on there, including a new floor that should be installed by August 7th or 11th. But we have some golf specials running. If anybody plays, and the course is wonderful. I finally got out last Wednesday, and it's in beautiful condition. But the special runs on Tuesdays and Fridays, and it's $10 for 9 and $14 for 18. So that's a pretty good deal. And then if you do foot golf, that is, I think, $8. Am I right? Where are my notes? Yes, the golf is $8. The foot golf is $8. I don't know if you've seen the report, but our student liaisons told us everything that's going on at the high school. And I just want to share that I had the privilege of presenting the musicals 4 scholarships to various universities, 1 vocal, 2 instrumental, piano and saxophone, and a dancer. And we presented those, and every one of those kids is going off to college with a major and minor, one in humanities music and the other in the sciences. I think that was just, and if you think the world is in trouble, just attend some of those ceremonies. I mean, we can be so proud of those 150 or so kids going off to great universities here, great junior colleges, into the military, and it makes you feel very confident about our future. And the Senior Olympics are July 31st is the deadline. By June 30th, and Trenton is hosting it this year. So any senior citizen who wants to participate, please take care of that registration. And then finally, I hope everybody's had a chance to see the Trenton Trib and the Island Beacon. It is so nice to have something back. That was one of the great things about moving here 15 or 18 years ago, was every Friday I could read what was going on in the island. And small town person I am, I like that. And so it's nice to have that back. So we didn't have any business, but we did a lot of talking.
Thank you very much, Leah.
And I have to run again to another meeting, so
Okay.
sorry about that, guys.
Okay, there'll be no report from the Grosse Ile Schools due to the absence of Mitch Lewis, and I don't see Pam here, so there'll be no report from the Beautification Committee. Next item on the agenda is public comments. If there's anybody that would like to make a comment, if you come up, just address your name and address, and step up to the microphone there. And thank you for coming.
Oh, you're welcome. Bob Dombrowski. I live at 8448 Stout. 8448 Stout. 448 Stout.
Okay.
The reason I'm here is I spend my winters in Florida, and I just got back a couple weeks ago, and I was so disappointed to see a chain across Ferry Trail. And so I looked into this, and I called the guy, Dave Rothwell, who owns it, who bought the land 1 year ago, which equally disappointed me, knowing that that land was for sale, and Grosse Ile never bought it. And he's going to put 2 lots. He's got 2 lots behind the one house there. It's going to be on a canal, and the other one's going to be a driveway. So I talked to him about if we could use the driveway, because I don't know if you know, I've been here for 30 years, and hundreds and hundreds of people use the ferry trails every day. They ride their bikes through there, they run through there. It's access. It's the only access we have on a bicycle. If you live between Ferry and Church, the canal and East River Road is going through there. And I talked to people that lived here a lot longer than me, and they said the ferry trail's been open forever, and now it's closed. Now it's closed. And I talked to the guy about maybe sharing some access, and he says no, he's not interested. It's his land, and he's closed it up. Very disappointing that my first point is that we never did something to keep that open, because that's a very important piece of land to everybody. I don't know if any of you guys live around there, but if you did, you'd feel like I do. And now the kids got to go up to East River Road or whatever, ride their bikes down to Macomb Street. It's more dangerous. For everything else, I always hope they'd put a bike path through there. But anyways, the reason I'm here is he told me that you people are looking at an access to ferry farther east to his land. Is that true?
Yes.
You have something that looks like it might happen?
Yeah, we'll be talking about that later on at great length. We've been doing a lot of work during this issue for the last 2 or 3 months. So.
We might as well talk about it now rather than.
Well, can we do that? Yeah, let's do it now. Let's.
I would like to make one comment there, correcting 2 things actually. We did have a study session that spent an awful long time looking at options, and talk boarded about a dozen of them. And I looked at all of the options there, and that's part of the plan that the chairman has. But I would also indicate, so that the record is clear, the township did approach the prior owners about purchasing that property some years ago, and they said no thanks, we're not interested. The property was never listed publicly, and it appears that it was a private sale among family members or close friends. So the township never had an opportunity to do something after we had made the initial overture several years ago.
Okay.
So
right.
There was an attempt that was made there, just to clear it up, because I hate to have somebody come in here and think that the township was negligent for not looking at it. In point of fact, Mr. Ream township manager, would be very quick to let you know that, in fact, we did speak with them, and apparently the people passed. And my understanding is it may have gone into a trust, but that's hearing things secondhand. And then that was sold to somebody that had family connections there. So we never even got a chance to do anything with it.
Well,
And it's unfortunate.
He did tell me that you guys went up to him, approached him about sharing,
Yes.
and he just says, no, I'm not interested in it. Well, it's his property. It's his right. I'm disappointed, but I'm glad to hear that. So you guys are
Indeed, we have been.
And I would even go so far as to say the chairman exercised some personal contacts he had with a neighbor in that immediate area to see if they would be interested in allowing a path to go through. And that was less than, it didn't work out. Let me say that. So we've been doing that, and it's just regrettable that we weren't able to do something with that property. I live on Ferry. I live on the north side of Ferry.
All right.
I enjoy walking back through there. Part of my report I indicated went in from Gage, walked around back there in the springtime, and I really like it, and that's something we're trying to develop. But I just want to let you know the township wasn't sitting by watching an opportunity
Well,
pass.
I understand, and another thing I thought of is, there's hundreds of pieces of land sold every year, and it'd be impossible to keep track of every one. I understand that, and what are you gonna do? So
We're not finished yet.
Okay.
I mean, we're not finished. In other words, we're still working on it. And if there's no objection, we can talk about it now, or do you want to wait until it comes up on the agenda? All right, it's more efficient to do it now then. What Carl's told you is absolutely correct with what we've been doing, and we are now in the midst of contacting an owner of a lot on the island, on that street, to put in a access from a revised trail to Ferry Road. And I can't mention any names, it'd be improper to do so, but we're working on it at the present time. And we're also, in doing so, what we would have to do is to improve and extend the trail from the open space east, make a loop trail out of it, and hopefully have an access from the loop to Ferry Road. So this is what we are working on.
now would it be coming in from Park Lane? Because Park Lane is I think township-owned land right there. Going from Island coming in.
Well, the only area that we could find that would have access to from the open space property to Ferry Road would be, or to any area south, on the Ferry Road exit or area, would be about 3/4 of the way down, and the access on Park Lane simply wouldn't work.
Would you? So in other words, you'd come in off Gage there, the way we did all along, and make a
under the plan.
make a left.
Under the plan, what you'd do is you walk down the end of Gage, south, then you turn left, walk down the trail, and hopefully have an access point in that trail down to Ferry Road, further east than what the prior trail was.
That would make a lot of people happy if you if you do that. I'll tell you what.
It's going to take a lot of work to do it. It's going to take a lot of, and believe me, we've exercised a lot of things which normally you wouldn't do to try to achieve that. So we're trying to do it, and we'll be taught. But one of the things we are thinking of doing, I'm just talking about it. We can't. We might want to put in a loop trail immediately. That's one of the things we want to discuss. Put in a loop trail now. Get that done, and then in the meantime, negotiate with one of the property owners to provide an access from that trail to Park Lane.
That would be good.
It's going to take some work. I would think that the trail, that if we would do that, that trail would run between $20,000-$25,000 to put in. Then, as far as the exit, it all depends on what the owner would want to be willing to sell his property for. Would we be able to buy it? Okay. So it's going to take a number of steps to do it, but I think one of the things we might want to do, and this is where I'd like to get some direction from the committee, whether we should proceed with putting in that loop trail immediately with no exit, so at least you have a place to walk. So that's what we're thinking about. And my question is that if we, I believe we would have to get permission from the township board, first of all, to go out for quotations, competitive quotes for that trail. Am I correct?
That is correct.
In other words, we can't go out and get 3 quotes and say, here it is, and we have to have permission to go out for competitive bids. And once we get the bids, then we have to have permission for the township to approve the awarding of the bid to a vendor to construct the trail. The most efficient thing would be to do the whole thing at once. But quite frankly, the way these things move so slowly, it might be a 2-step process.
I think a part of it, if there can be some kind of a plan showing where the trail would be, and we've talked about location, those lots on the north side of Ferry typically go back just about 800 feet from the center of the road. So they're not the typical 300-foot lots that you're looking at. They go back quite a ways. And to be able to work that around would be very important so we can see exactly what we have. It's about 48 acres, if I recall, back there. Significant piece of property, but we don't even at this point have, other than Gage, as I understand it, access from Island Boulevard. When Pat Selby and Ron were here, they were talking about that, and I think the conclusion was that there is access from Stout, but it ends on the north side of Island. And while Park Lane is platted to go through, it's not dedicated, and that's not a township piece of property, but that's another story for another day.
Who owns it? Park Lane.
My sister and I do.
Okay.
Sorry.
Are you really?
Absolutely.
There's also an access from the existing open space, rather narrow area, and it's between 2 homes. At this point in time, maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but I'm very concerned about using that access going onto the main road, and that access being between 2 existing homes. I'm very leery of that, and I'd like to get some opinions from the school board or from the schools to see if that would create a serious safety hazard for the young adults and children that would be using that trail.
And it doesn't have the same appeal as a north-south where you can traverse from Island to Ferry. That would pretty much parallel Island, and it doesn't have the same utilitarian factor that we might be able to use.
You know how popular bicycling is now. I mean, we all know that. You know, I think tomorrow night they're having a glow roll or something through here. I think a big part of it should be able to get bicycles mainly and pedestrians to Macomb Street from all over the island, and that would be a step in that direction.
A lot of things to consider there. From a personal standpoint, it's not purely mine to be able to say, talking about the Park Lane property. That is not just mine. I wish that it was. I will tell you, we've been talking about it a little bit within my immediate family, but again, I don't know where that stands, and my sister and her husband. So I look at it as a terrific thing for the township, but again, I'm only one vote. So,
but if you can get in there through Gage, go through this loop, and then have an access to Ferry through one of them homes, That would be,
That would be the ideal situation.
yeah.
And that's what we're shooting for. But it's going to take, it's not a question of, it's going to be it'll be a costly situation regardless of which way you go. Because you have to buy a piece of property, and then you have to develop that into a middle of that property into the trail. And I think we're willing to do that. The issue here is getting the permission, the willingness of the owner of the property that we're talking about, and I'm not going to mention any names where it's at, to sell that piece of property for a trail. And that's going to be a very difficult thing to do, I believe. Hopefully I'm wrong. But that's what our plan is.
Well, thanks, and if there's anything I could do, you got my address and I'll give
And
you
I
my
appreciate
phone
your
number.
coming forward and talking about it.
Yeah, everybody's really upset over that closing down, and I can take them a ray of hope that perhaps we'll get this going to Ferry. That would be nice.
That's our objective. Bert, is there anything you want to? Bert's been one of the lead people on this program or this issue that we've been dealing with.
Well, Bob, I just want to agree that it was really a tragedy that this property was sold without our knowledge, because we would have jumped on it had we known. So then it was, we've been kind of spending months on this, first talking with Mr. Rothwell, and then Cliff and I looked around, was there any way we could find some property to swap with them or something? And so we've tried a lot of different avenues. It's just one of those things, if only we had known. But so this is kind of our last best hope, and we're just really hoping that it comes through.
I mean,
We'll keep you informed of what's going on, through our committee.
well, thanks. I sure appreciate that, and
Yeah.
I'll let the folks on Stout Street know what story is, because that was the other half. Is how could this piece of property go for be sold and Grosse Ile not buying it? We understand if you weren't
There
aware
are
of it.
there are a lot of rumors floating around about who said what and who didn't, but Carl said it very, very well, and then this is exactly how it happened and what happened and why it happened.
Well, that's why I came here. I called this guy up, got his story, then I want to come here and get.
Well,
so rather than listen to the guy in the corner, I want to hear it from.
What you've heard is the absolute. Those are the facts.
Well, thanks a lot.
I would add one thing else, Mr. Dombrowski, that the chairman actually, and I think talked with the individual to see if they could use the driveway, and he is, as I understand it, as far west as, and he's building two pieces of property, one for himself and I think an adjoining property for a family member that has grandchildren.
Daughter. Yeah.
Exactly, and without getting too personal. And he is as far west, as I understand, as close as he can get to the canal without infringing upon wetlands and going through some problems with that. In the trail, if I'm recalling correctly, would have gone literally within a couple of feet of his garage and his home. So there was a privacy concern there, and he's excited about coming here. When he addressed a group, he simply said that I like the passion here. Wished it wasn't my address, but you people love the open space, the greenways, and that. And he just made it very clear he wished that he could cooperate and do something, but it's kind of hard to have a barbecue with, as you say, steady stream of people walking by. So
It is what it is.
we share your pain.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'll let everybody know, and thanks a lot.
Okay.
And
Okay.
if there's anything you can,
We'll keep you informed.
I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks, sir.
Along with that, I would like to have motion, if I could, to have me go ahead and prepare a sketch of a loop trail. I might need some help from you folks. A loop trail with an estimated cost, and ask permission from the township board to go out for competitive bids.
I would ask
making that
Mr.
in the form of a
Dombrowski if
motion.
he'd be willing to sit down and maybe work on that. I also know that there is a gentleman that lives very close to East River that's back there all the time looking for shed and antlers. Very familiar with it, and it's a wonderful area, and I think that was mostly pasture land at one time.
I'd like to make this in form of a motion that I be given permission to go ahead and prepare a proposal for the township board, or permission to go out for competitive bids for a trail.
So I'm assuming that we're going to find out one way or another from the property owner fairly soon. I mean, they've been thinking about this for a while. We've made another pitch. So,
Saying you want to wait for a while?
well, I guess, I mean, I think it's fine to start drafting the loop trail because, like you said, we'll probably do that no matter what.
Exactly.
But I don't think we should bother to go for bids unless we know if we're going for a loop and a little
want to do
jog.
everything at once if possible.
Well, I think we should. I think we'll know soon. I mean,
Well, fine. Well, what would be soon? Another couple of months, do you think?
I don't think that we should be expecting to hang around without an answer for months and months.
Anybody else? Want me to wait for a while then before I go ahead and,
Is it for certain?
the loop trail in of itself, a very last resort type of approach. At least provide some sort of a trail back into that area. Right. It would no way provide any access. In other words, it's the least desirable approach. The best approach is to have a loop trail with an access to Ferry Road.
Maybe a question for Carl. Since we have to get permission from the township board to go out for quotes, better for us to wait with the whole package, or would they be okay with, the loop trail, and then if we get the access, we just add it to them, to that?
Without presuming to speak for the entire board, I think that the trail that you were talking about across from Meridian School, that's a loop trail, and that's been very, very successful. I've been back there several times in less than ideal weather, and I see people in there all the time. I think with the amount of, there's two approaches. One is that we look at the loop trail as something that's recreational, as something that's enjoyable. If we're looking at a trail that's connecting from Ferry to Gage at some point, is that going to be a loop trail, or is that just going to be a through trail? I don't know what the consensus is on this commission, what you would want to do. I think that the loop trail has been very successful across from there, but a through trail makes as much sense, and perhaps more if that's what we're doing. We had a number of people that came in and said that they enjoyed going from through Gage to Ferry, walking over to Kroger and the bike path and things like that. So I don't have an opinion on that. I think the township board would be open, hopefully, to both. It seems to me that a through trail initially would be cheaper because it's a much shorter concept than a loop trail. I think a loop trail probably back there you should expect to be 3/4 of a mile or more if it comes in from Gage to do the full circuit. And
Well, I think we should do the loop trail no matter what.
I think so.
Just as an open space amenity to the community. the question is whether we should do it in two, do the loop trail, and then if we are able to buy the property, then add the access point.
What we can do, let's go ahead and prepare and stake out a loop trail on the open space. We can do that. And then get an idea of about how long it'll be and a ballpark estimate about how much it would cost. And then see how, now that we can do that immediately. Then, in the meantime, possibly we can have some success with this excess issue. And if we do, then we can go back to the township, we go to the township board and give them the whole package. That sound reasonable?
I would recommend that. I think that's very good.
Okay, let's do it then.
Can I ask one thing? It sounds like a good idea, but I don't know, how much money they're willing to spend. If you put a loop trail in there, then afterwards, the cost to put this 800-foot extension to Ferry comes up, and they say, hey, we can't afford both. Would that be a concern, or they say, no problem, we could afford both? If you had to do one or the other, I would say the main thing would be getting a connection from Gage to Ferry. What I would think.
You can have proposal A and proposal B. Proposal A would be a trail, a direct trail from Gage Road, turning east and exiting off to Ferry. Proposal B would be, if that fails, proposal B would be a loop-type trail. Does that make sense?
Yep, and then you'll find out probably within a couple months whether or not this person is willing to, this unnamed person is willing to sell.
Yeah. And the thing of it is, just a word to the board, confidentiality is the key here. We're on the air right now, but as far as who is it and where is it, we're not going to tell anybody, because negotiations like this must be kept confidential. Okay, so we can do that.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Well, thank you. Again, if I can be a help, if you want some help.
Okay.
Okay.
We're not going to be bashful. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a nice day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so what we'll do is we can prepare in other words, two proposals, guesstimates, concept-type proposals. One will be a direct trail with an excess, the other will be a loop. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, makes sense.
Bert?
Sure.
Okay. Woody?
Okay.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay, so we move on to the next item.
Do you want to vote that?
Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item is the junk report. Woody, talk to us about the event that we had.
We're just waiting. Move it is because it's the weight. In and put it in something else so they can move it across the bridge. Till that happens, we don't get a price.
Well, we don't get a agreed. But how did the event, other than that, how did the event go?
Everybody brought everything they wanted to bring.
Filled up, what, 18?
No, we filled out the same amount. We put some on the ground too. People are still trying to do numbers on us for stone and bricks and cement and things like that. But old railroad tie routine to us. Like to do the shuffle. Oh, it's not a railroad tie. It's something else, but it's called railroad tie.
everybody that I talked to was very appreciative of the work that.
Oh, yeah, right. But the thing is that you still got the people in there, con artists. You got the con artists working too, trying to work it around a certain way so they can move the stuff, like the railroad ties, or the stone, or the brick, or whatever the hell else they got coming.
Okay, and I think, Lenny, do you have any?
No comments here.
Okay, very good. Okay, the next item is the status of spring reviews. Why don't we start down at the end? Is there anything any update as far as the spring reviews, the open spaces, and where we need to dump chips and so on and so forth? Pam?
Well, I have the trail that starts at the Playscape. My last inspection was a couple days ago, and I put stakes in the ground with a little pink ribbon on it to show the low spots. And it needs chipping because the trail is kind of lost in weeds for a certain distance. And then it opens up, and there's a couple of small trees over the trail. So
Yeah.
if we've got some maintenance help to make that more accessible, that would be great.
Okay, I'm going to send an email then to, when we're all finished, I'll send a formal email to TNT to have them dump the chips and cut the trees.
Do they spread the chips?
They can. There might be. It all depends. They have a bobcat where they can spread the chips, so they can do that. Not spread them, but at least they can dump them there. We might have to spread them out a little bit, but I believe they can get back there and dump them. Lenny?
Okay, I was waiting for another week or so for that trail in Manchester to take and drought a bit more, because when I was there, it was awful wet. And I don't want to do an assessment when we had that rain the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
So I'm going to take a reassess this weekend, because this week is supposed to be dry, except for some possible rain tonight. And then I'll take the photographs and I'll send a presentation out to you guys.
Okay. When you leave tonight, stop by I have some steaks made for you.
Okay.
Okay. STAKES, not EA.
Not the other kind?
Not the other kind.
Well, there goes that invite.
Okay. All right. Now, once you do that, I want to include in one email exactly where I want TNT
Okay.
to spread the chips and what work needs to be done. Okay, with Pam, you, and Daryl.
Okay, at the Centennial Farm open space, got quite a few trees down there and blocking the trails and so on. And I talked to TNT this morning, and they're going to get in there Saturday to
Wonderful.
clear them out. And I also asked them if they could chip them with the chipper, take it behind the tractor instead of hauling the mulch in there. And, but they could open that gate and back in there with a truck if that post wasn't in the way. So we've got to remove that post.
Can't they get in there with a bobcat to do that?
Well, they can, but we should remove it. We should remove it, because then you could just open up the gates
Now,
and they
what
could
post?
back in.
What post are we talking?
Right after the gates, there's a big post in there. I don't know if it's got a sign on it or what, but I don't know why it's there.
Why can't we take it out?
Let's take it out.
Okay, take it out.
Yeah, let's take it out.
Okay, and then if it's something that's valuable, we can relocate it.
Yeah, relocate it
do
somewhere
that.
on one side or the other.
Is he all set to do that?
Yeah, he's going to finish everything up Saturday as far as removing the trail trees, that are down.
Bert,
I'm not sure what open space I'm supposed to be surveying.
Pick one.
Pick one, yeah.
Oh, why don't you email me one that's not being covered? Because I think I used to do. Oh.
okay, all right, we'll get that squared away. I'll speak as far as for Pat Nielsen. At this point in time, there's nothing needs to be done on the wildlife sanctuary. So what I'll do is I'll have I'll get the email out to TNT, and be interested to see. Do you need some help removing that post?
Yeah, I don't know how we're gonna remove it. It's got to be pulled up,
Well, let's see what we have to do.
But they mentioned it too. Tom. Yeah, Tom mentioned that.
Maybe we can
that
get
was in the
that
way.
there with the shovel, and we get 2 or 3 guys in there. Lanny, do you think you could help us with that this weekend?
Can I just back the truck up and
Pull it out.
pull it out?
Yeah, maybe.
We can pull it out. Let me know what time this weekend you guys want to do it.
Yeah. I've got to change everything. You wouldn't have to get it
Yeah, get all
out.
that.
If we could yank it out.
Yeah, we can yank it out.
Okay.
Fine.
Just yank it out. Let me
Yeah,
know.
I got the chain and everything.
Okay, let me know what time you guys are available.
Okay.
Okay, looks like we're making some progress in that area. Next item is the welcome letter status. Woody, you've generously offered to take over
Yeah,
that.
but I moved them last week or last month. I'm going to be moving them. I just got another list. I want to talk to you about this first person. It says commercial account.
Don't bother with that one.
Question.
Okay, how many did you get out last month?
About 20.
20? Great.
Great if you're not doing it. Doing it is not great.
Well, it all depends.
2, 4, 6.
Consider it a labor of love, Woody.
You consider it. Fine, I'll give it back to you.
Okay, now one of the things that I approached Brian Pollock, the need for a liaison to the Bike Path Committee. And I wrote him an email, and I haven't received a response back. I would like to have somebody from the Bike Path Commission act as a liaison to our group, if possible, so that items of mutual interest or issues of mutual concern can be addressed. So I guess it's up for me to get going and get Brian to see if he can come up with a person from his committee to sit in on ours as well, or some approach to that. So might need some, by way of the fact that we're on the air, is to ask Brian's group to come forward. We need to have close communication with.
I talked to Tom McVesto about the corner of Park Lane and Horse Mill where they put down the chips, but they didn't spread them out. And
Yeah.
I said, we're on bike path, have the bike path go in there and spread it and put it nice and level. But some of it has been done, and it's not. Some of them is still there.
I went by the other day. It didn't seem too bad, but maybe it was.
Well, it's not too bad, but it still could be a little more level. And
So, Cliff, what if the bike path wants a liaison from us?
If that's what they want, then I'll be looking for somebody from this group to act as a liaison to the Bike Path Committee. Serve on that group.
Not me, but
The biker?
No, that's a very good.
it would-
All joking
it would
aside,
go either way.
It
right?
could go either way.
Yeah.
It could go either way. So, all I want to do is, be aware that I might be asking somebody from this group if Brian says, well, why don't you have somebody from your group, go to our meetings and have a report. So I'd be asking for volunteers, okay? But let's see what I can hear from Brian first. But your point's well taken. Very good question. Now, during the months of July and August is when we usually take a vacation hiatus. We will not have any plan to have any meetings in July and August, but we will still be working on the items that we are planning to work on, and particularly with regard to the Ferry Road Trail. That seems to be the one that's most important, and along with making sure that the trails that we have, Centennial Farm, Playscape, Manchester Trail, are in good shape. So I'd like to start off with Carl. Start from your end. Is there any other items that you wish to bring up?
We did not hear from beautification on Pam, but I have nothing. I have nothing further to add.
Cute, so is that it? You're cute, okay. All right. Let's go on now.
Now, in a few words, as possible, Woody, do you have anything?
Yeah, I got Art Kester's going to be leaving. He's going to be moving to Portage, Michigan. He's going to be living in an assisted living complex. On June 24th, he's going to be leaving. He said, I talked to Claire today. She doesn't want any parties or anything like that. So if you want to call Claire, give her a call and say hi, goodbye, or whatever you want to say.
In way of background, Art Kester was one of the founding members of the Beautification Commission and served many years on the Open Space Program. He was on the Open Space Program when I joined back in 2003. So.
And he worked diligently on the northwest corner and south and Parkway with flowers and stuff in there, both on the west side of Meridian across from each other on Parkway. He did a hell of a job, worked all the time.
So you talk to Claire, and Claire says you want a big party for
Don't want
her.
anything.
Nothing, okay.
Call her on the phone and that's about it.
Okay, well, I'm sorry to hear that news, Woody. I'll miss Art.
But he's going up there where he lived with his daughter, close to his daughter, I guess. He's going to be living in a senior complex.
Should we send a card?
I think that'd be very appropriate. I'll get a card and I'll make sure that each one of you have a chance to
We don't sign it, you forge our names.
sign it for him. Bert, is there anything that you want to talk about?
Nope, all set.
Okay.
Say from the group, it'd be easier.
Darrell?
I think I'm all set.
Lenny?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay. Pam?
Well, I could mention that the four corners, one corner is maintained by the Garden Club, but three of the corners are maintained by the Beautification Committee. And we had some volunteers that showed up and planted flowers in time for the Island Fest. So there was some color. And then coming up on June 15th, we're hosting the Beautification Council of Southeastern Michigan. And the program is historic preservation. So we're going to have people that own some of the historic homes talk about how they preserved them over the years, since some of them were built around the time of the Civil War. And then we're going to have John Wilkie, who took this hangar and made it into a state-of-the-art township hall. He's going to talk about that preservation. And then we're offering people from out of town that are coming down from as far as Mount Clemens a bus tour, so they can see up close some of the homes and the buildings that we're talking about in the program.
The Beautification Committee takes care of what corner? At four corners? Is it
The southeastern corner is the Garden Club.
Okay.
So the south, this
Southwest.
southwest,
West.
northeast, northwest, and northeast.
All the four corners except for the south
East.
corner is the
Beautification.
Beautification. Okay.
Do you remember when the gas station was there?
Oh, yes.
Gas
Burned
station.
down
Where a gas station there?
Thanksgiving the evening before.
Meat Nook. They want the Meat
1976.
Nook.
Okay.
Ed Page.
Cleaners.
If not, I'd like to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay.
All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Journey or journey?
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.